back to my channel, So Very Domestic. I'm May, and today I'm going to teach you a little about sourdough. Making a sourdough starter is a project. It usually takes about a week for it to really come together so that you can actually bake a loaf of bread from it, and there's quite a bit of babying required in that week. So I just followed the simplest method I could. I used the plainest flour, and I just used tap water just so it could be like the most, accessible, easy to do trial run ever. And what I did was I used half a cup of warm water and 3/4 of a cup of flour. And that's why I just started with that on the first day. And then I fed it every 12 hours. So that just means I took half of the starter out and I put in that same amount of flour and water, and I did that every 12 hours. Okay, so day one of the sourdough experiment, I'm using a large glass bowl and a rubber spatula. You need a non-reactive bowl or it will mess with your sourdough, so just use glass or plastic and you'll be fine. I've got 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour, and I'm adding in half a cup of warm tap water. I'm just going to mix this up until it's totally combined. It's pretty smooth once it's all mixed in. A quick note about the bowl I chose: I went with a large glass bowl because I don't want it to overflow out of my container this week while it's growing. Your container only has to hold about 2 quarts max, and this bowl will hold twice that much. You need to cover it with something also. Usually people use a napkin or a towel, so I'm going to use this napkin, lay it on top of the bowl, and leave it over there by my oven. Ideal temperature is between 70 and 75 degrees, and my kitchen is always at least that warm. This is what it looks like at 8 p.m. on the first night. This is what it looks like after the first 12 hours. You can see some bubbles happening here, and it smells like something's going on. There's a lot of skin on top of it, sort of like a pudding skin, and now I need to discard half of it. I decided to measure it to accurately take out half, and I'm so glad I did because I do not think I would have eyeballed this right. I took out 6 tablespoons, and now I'm going to feed it again. I added another half cup of warm water and 3/4 of a cup of flour, and now I'll leave it for another 12 hours. Here it is, day 2 in the evening. It's got a bit of a skin on it again. I'll take out the discard and feed it again. This is the morning of day 4, and it is the first day I can see bubbles through the glass. Can you see them there? It has also grown about 1/3 of a cup. Day 6 was the first day I got nice big bubbles. Day 7 is impressively gloopy, and I named my starter Elizabeth. So this is day 8, and look how glorious. I was inspired to bake crumpets because she looked so perfect. My crumpets came out just okay though, so I think she needs to rest more. Day 10 is pretty warm in my kitchen, and Elizabeth seems to love it. I took some out last night for pancakes this morning, and this is what an unfed starter looks like. There are some bubbles, but not a whole lot. And this has just been fed and mixed. Day 18, and I am so in love with the bubbles, I'm excited to get baking. I did a trial run of waffles with this batch, but I did not document them at all. I did, however, document these pancakes I made on day 20, and these biscuits I made on day 22 will be up on my blog. I'll leave a link in the description. The recipe only used half a cup of the discard, and I think they turned out really well. On day 28, I tried my first loaf, and of course, I documented it for you. I started with 3/4 of a cup of unfed room temperature starter and added 1 1/4 cups of lukewarm water. Then I added 1, 2, 3 cups of flour. Then I measured out about a tablespoon of honey, or you could use maple syrup instead, and I just drizzled it all around the bowl, and then I added the salt. Now I put the hook attachment on my KitchenAid, and I'm going to let this mix for 5 minutes, rest for 10, and mix for another 10. While that mixes, I spray the bowl the bread will rise in. I'm using my favorite cooking spray, this basic canola oil spray from Costco. When I turned back to my dough, expecting it to be a ball, it was still really mushy, so I added more flour to bring it to the right texture. When I got it where I wanted it, I shaped it and put it in my prepared bowl, and I flipped it over so it was coated in oil, and now I covered it with a damp towel and left it for 6 hours to rise. It has not doubled in size, but it is a little bigger. I'm cutting slashes across the top with a wet serrated knife and covering it to rise for another 2 hours. 2 hours later, it's a little bigger. I'm preheating the oven to 450 degrees and I'm letting my cast iron Dutch oven get hot in there. So this pan has been in the 450 degree oven for about 20 minutes. Now I'm going to put the bread in. You really should have your bread rising on the parchment paper you're going to lift up and place it in the pan with, because it will stick a little on the bottom. I didn't do that and things got tricky. Lesson learned. Now it goes in the oven with the lid on for 15 minutes. Then it bakes for another 15 minutes with the lid off. You're supposed to let it rise for another 30 minutes as part of the baking process. So neat. Finally, I got to cut it open, and even though I know I can do better, it's pretty great to see my starter as bread. I'll keep working at it to get bigger holes and a better rise. So I'm really just learning this along the way as I try different things. So far, tap water and all-purpose flour has worked out okay. I'm going to keep going and go for like a better sourdough taste and those bigger holes that you get in that perfect sourdough toast. So I'm kind of working towards that, but I also want to try it with almond flour and oat flour and maybe even garbanzo bean flour. Like, I don't know how it would work with a bunch of different kinds of flour. So I think I'm going to do an experiment in the near future, and if there's any interest in that, or if it gives me, you know, results worth sharing, then I'll make a video about that, because I kind of love doing it. Like, it's neat and fascinating really to watch it come together, and it's become sort of a fun part of my morning and evening routine, which maybe is really sad that I like dealing with a sourdough starter every morning and every evening, but it really has become just like part of like my morning thing and part of my evening thing, and I'm looking forward to trying it with different kinds of flour. So like I said, I'm still learning, but if you have any questions you think that I could answer, I'm always happy to answer those in the comments. Again, as always, thank you so very much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up to show some support and subscribe to my channel for new videos. Thanks, bye!